Hello, everybody. Welcome to How Come. This is our last episode for the month of Pride. And what goes better with Pride than joy? Today's guest is Dr. Joy Berkheimer, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, sexologist, dating coach, author, and speaker. And we are talking to her about attachment styles and then lust styles, the 5 erotic blueprints. Initially, it was just going to be the erotic blueprints, but we got a question from a companion about attachment styles, and I've been wondering about them for a long time, and who better to talk about it with than a therapist? Trigger warning if your parents don't have a perfect relationship. Yeah, trigger warning for that. Trigger warning if you don't have a secure attachment style, which, whatever, like most of us don't. I certainly don't. We'll learn about what mine is or what we think mine is in this episode. And don't be mad at yourself or your parents if your attachment style is not perfect. This is not a death sentence. It's just a jumping off point to start negotiations, as Cher said in Clueless. No, it's just an opportunity to reassess your stuff and figure out why things in relationships haven't been going exactly as smoothly as you would like. And maybe it's a little reminder to go back into therapy. I was doing a podcast the other day, and just so you guys know, I've been so depressed lately. But somebody on the podcast I was doing was like, podcasting is like therapy. And if it was, I'd feel a lot better. It is not therapy. Nothing's therapy except therapy. So we'll talk about that in this episode. And I hope you guys are all feeling mentally well. And if you're not, that's okay. I'm right here with you. And I just reached out to my therapist again, and he's so proud of me. But more importantly, I'm proud of me. And that is where the pride part of Pride and Joy comes in this episode. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, there are pride themes, but basically everybody can benefit from knowing what their attachment style is, what their lust language is. It's not a straight or queer thing. So this episode is about all of us, and I think we can all benefit. So get excited and let's go.
How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
Dr. Joy, welcome to How Come.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Of course. For the people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and then the Renew Yourself with Joy program?
Sure. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a sex therapist, sexologist, and I'm super passionate about erotic embodiment, working with couples, individuals, just really getting in touch with their sensual self, their relationships, and just understanding how to connect better on every level. I started my practice really trying to understand why people choose the kind of people that they do. And what I understood better is that people don't understand themselves. That's why they choose the people they do and stay in the cycles that they do. And the more we get us, the more that we evolve and emerge and remember our authentic selves, the better we do in our relationships and everything else in our lives. So Renew Yourself with Joy is the original name of my original practice. And it's kind of just evolved over time as I've deepened my own personal journey, my own personal sexual practices and sensual practices. And so the private practice kind of follows my personal journey. So in my original couple sessions, what I would do is really help people learn how to communicate a little bit better. So we'll get stuck in our cycles. Typically what happens is you communicate the way that you saw your parents communicate, which could have been absolutely awful. So I'm trying to help couples maybe get their own language and maybe interpret things in a new way so that they have a way to communicate their needs to each other. They have a way to interpret love the way that they want to show it and then continue to grow that way. Now, also, I want to say this, and everyone may not love this thing, but I don't believe couples counseling is just to keep couples together. My purpose is to illuminate truth. My purpose is to have clarity so that people can make decisions based off of what's really happening, based off of who we really are. And then you can decide if you want to continue to be together. Because maybe now that I realize what you were communicating and who you were, wow, I shouldn't be here. This isn't for me. And so then we can go from there. So really the work that I do is creating space for truth so we can decide where to go from here. Now I know my desires. And so that normally and naturally will evolve into sex therapy, into erotic embodiment, into like tantra, into sensuality. Well, now I know what my eroticism is and how I'm aroused. And so we can decide if your arousal, your desires match mine, or if it's something that I can provide or I'm really interested in or just not interested in. And so this is not a space for the two of us together, the three of us, the four of us, however many there are, because my practice also has expanded into like polytherapy as well. So if this is something that we can get with, then but if it's just not, if it doesn't align with my values, then I guess this isn't for me. And so I have to figure out where else to be.
I love that you said that about finding the truth and it not being like necessarily like the success of the therapy isn't that, okay, the couple is still together and happy or whatever, because sometimes people do need to break up. So you're looking at from the perspective of, I'm trying to do the best thing for both of these people or all of these people instead of for the unit.
Yes.
And I think that might take a lot of pressure off of some people that are like avoiding therapy, because I think, you know, somebody asks you, we should go to therapy. Like, I want to work on a relationship. If you don't necessarily want to work on that relationship, you're not going to go to therapy. And then it's going to, you know, maybe play out longer. And clearly you guys have a communication problem.
Yes.
So things will just kind of like get rancid instead of going into a safe space where it can be like, hey, these are the issues we're having. And actually they are issues.
And what do we do about it?
And what do we do about it?
Yeah. Some people just, they don't want to do, and they don't want to say anything out loud. It goes both ways sometimes, which is kind of, it can be tough. Some person will bring their other half to counseling thinking, okay, they finally agreed, but they really agreed because they wanted to break up with them, and they gave them no inkling whatsoever that that's what it was. And so they were coming so that they could break up in front of me in a safe space. And so then I'm kind of now having to hold space for this person who's now having to grieve their relationship that they had no idea that was going to happen. A lot of interesting things happen, or I've had a couple where, because I will have an individual session with them, and they will admit to me, like, I have no interest in actually being happy, but I don't feel like paying for divorce. And so I'll do whatever I need to do to stay married and not have to pay my wife alimony. I'm like, whoa, I'm not interested in this at all. I want to divorce the two of you. I don't want to do counseling with you. I like, and I'll literally tell them that, like, I don't want to do this. This isn't fun for me. So find another therapist for that. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. It's just, that's not the work that I do. I don't want to placate the situation. And they'll literally be honest. Like, we just come here so that we can have conversations so that we don't kill each other in the house. And I get that. I respect that is your plan. That's just not what my practice does. Like, you know, you need a mediator or a drink. I don't know, but it's not for me. Like, that's not what I do. So
I don't know if you're following Vanderpump Rules, and I'm sure everyone is sick of me bringing it up, but Tom Sandoval literally has said that he brought Ariana to therapy with the intention of breaking up with her there so it would soften the blow. And then she didn't realize that that's what was going on. And so she genuinely started working on their relationship, and that upset him because he was like, you weren't supposed to want to work on it. You know, like, you weren't supposed to suddenly become the perfect girlfriend. And like, she's like, but that's what therapy's for. He's like, no, I was here to dump you.
There is, just so everyone, because I know you have such a listenership. So I do want people to know this. And there is a safe space for this. There is a counseling called discernment therapy that is specifically for people who are trying to decide whether or not they should maintain the relationship, so that it is safe. It's not tricky. They can go and they can decide whether or not they should continue with the relationship. So you don't have to feel like, you know, somebody got the okie doke on you. Like, we're going to go and decide. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. So this is not that therapy, but it is nice to know that exists out there.
It does exist. Yes, it does. Yes.
This is for people who are genuinely looking to reconnect and like build
Yes.
something strong together.
Absolutely.
So we were talking before about how you said it often comes from what our parents have shown us.
Yeah, I call it our original love story. And so this is going to create our attachment styles.
Yeah.
So it's the way that we view our all attachment styles like have our theme. Our theme for how we're loved and how we expect people to love us. And so we'll see these same cycles again and again in all of our relationships. And we're like, how come I keep finding the same people? Like, well, because you're the same person, right? And so people respond to you the same way over and over and over again. And you probably find also the same kind of person because
You're choosing the same person because there's an archetype.
Yes.
I actually started keeping an Excel spreadsheet at one point because I was like, this keeps happening over and over. Let's see how these people are similar. And I was like, they're very similar.
Yes. Very much, very much. I visited my brother this weekend, and my friend came with me, and she's like, "Oh my God, your brother is so handsome. He's so cute." And I know my brother. He really, really is the perfect kind of guy. You look at him, he's bald, he's beard, and he's a physical trainer, and everybody in Atlanta wants him. And they're like, they want him to be on like Atlanta Housewives. He's like, "No, I won't do it. It's too much drama." And he's super healthy, but he's crazy. He's completely nuts, right? Like I would never be with this dude. Like I would never be with him
because he's your brother.
He's my brother. And and I realized when I started seeing the stuff around his apartment, how he's like super structured and everything, I was like, oh my God, this is one of my partners. Why am I dating my brother and my father? Oh my God. This is what I do. I just realized, like, oh man.
Yeah. But yeah, we want to talk about attachment styles and stuff in more depth. Can we go through the attachment styles?
Sure. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a secure attachment style, and supposedly, let's say about like 60 to 70% are a secure attachment style. That's including children. So these people would be the people who can have like an argument about something, they can disagree, and afterwards be like, okay, I'm hungry, you want to go get something to eat? Like they're not bothered. It's normal to argue. It's just a disagreement, and we can live life. It's not the end of the world. The relationship isn't over. They can, they're together a lot. People might mistake them for codependent, but they just like each other. That's what it is. They can travel
arguments
together.
Don't make them think that, oh my God, I dislike this person.
Exactly. It's not
officially now.
Yeah. They're not like, I'm going to pack my stuff now. No, it's fine. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like we can take a little time out. And
it also doesn't reflect on who I am, this particular argument.
I'm not a bad person just because I voted for well, maybe you are, but like, I'm not a bad person just because like, I like this kind of food or whatever. It just is what it is. We disagree. You're silly. Yeah. It's fine. I'm still going to like,
had a reaction. It's just a reaction. It's not who you are.
Exactly. We'll get over it and life will go on. That's the thing. Everything doesn't stop. It's not like this. What does this mean? Let me Google it. Let me talk to like my psychic. Like it's not this huge thing. It just happened,
Yeah.
Our core values still remain what they are. I still understand you for the most part. And they are people who, it's interesting this stat on it, but they are people who have like happier relationships and longer lasting. Although, in my experience, people who are unhappy still have pretty long-lasting relationships. They just have unhappy relationships. So
they're so good at it.
They are. Well, they also, have other people who are involved that like keep them in the relationships for a long time. So, but yeah, so they have these long, happy relationships supposedly. So, the next one would be an anxious attachment style. So this is a person who could be identified as like clingy. They struggle a lot with jealousy. The waitress comes over and asks you for your order, and you're asking your partner why the heck they were, making eye contact with the waitress while she was asking for your order. Look what's going on. It was a little bit too long. You are a person who is worried that you're going to be abandoned at any moment. Like everything your partner does is somehow they're trying to exit the situation. You're questioning everything.
Yeah.
This is a person who, it's interesting. You, the person who is an anxious attachment style person, might be the one who breaks up several times, but that's because your anxiety gets so high, you can't stand that feeling that you end the relationship. It's you have all the thoughts of like, I'm going to get left anyway. And so you end the relationship. And you are also the person who may have a fleet of people on the side that you're consistently like talking to and validating you. And those are usually the people that you connect with on those breaks from your relationship until you come back, because you always come back. If the person takes you back, you come back. And you have this story that everybody is lovable, but that you are not really lovable innately. You're not lovable. So the background of that person, typically they had a parent who was not really responsive. So that could be, and maybe it was the mother, it could be the father. Like, I hate giving the mom that thing, but a lot of times the research is like pointing to mom, right? But it could have been a mom who was maybe ill. She could have been like, maybe she had major depression. Maybe she had very high anxiety. Maybe she was an addict, right? Maybe she was being abused and she really just wasn't available to you to respond, to kiss your boo-boos, to like celebrate things with you, to be kind to you. Like, you felt neglected. Maybe you had to parent her or him, like whoever your parent was.
Or both.
Yes. So that would be that person who struggles a lot with narratives around, is a person ever going to be there for me?
Okay.
Next one would be the avoidant fearful. So there's two that split off. So you have avoidant fearful and avoidant dismissive. So the background for avoidant is the same for the two. Okay. So for avoidant, the background is typically, say you have a parent who is a perfectionist, right? They're very strict. So this household could be a parent or a household that's like a military household, a religious household, but there's a lot of rules in the household, right? And a sense of like shaming. So this household is like, do things like this. Maybe you have other siblings that you get compared to. Well, like Bobby did it like this, or Sandy did it like this. And you also have the other parent, if there's another parent, who, when you're like, hey, dad, can you get her off my back? Dad's like, hey, listen, you know how she is, just do what she says. I don't want to get involved. And they don't really protect you from this like overbearing person. And that person might do things, say it's religious, like, oh my goodness, if God could see you, oh, I'd be so ashamed, or God can see you, right? Like, oh my God, I'm so ashamed of you, or like, how could you, and why couldn't you do it this way, and that kind of thing. So you always feel like you can't ever get it right. And you're constantly trying to prove that like you could do it right. And when you do get an opportunity to leave the house, you break out of there and you're like, you want to avoid that constant shaming. So when you are a person in a relationship, if you are avoidant fearful, you desire intimacy, but you want it at an arm's length.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you kind of go back and forth, like, I want this thing and it feels nice. You're like, so you're like, yeah, it looks so good.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, come here. But like, you're too close though.
Literally.
So you could like, okay, so I'm in a house with you. Maybe you could be upstairs, like watching your thing. I'm down here cooking and I feel good. Like, I know where you are. And if I want to call you, I can. Yeah. But why are you breathing on my neck right now? Like, dude, back up. So like, or like, we had a really good night and you could go home, but like, say we had a really good night and I kind of got lost in the mood and it was great. And, we fell asleep together, we made love, whatever it is. And I wake up in the morning in my house, right? And you're in my bed and I'm like, holy cow. And I leave. I'm like, why are you still here? I'm going to go. But that person is also somebody who might also start thinking about their exes and how great it was and how that vibe was. Like, I don't know why, but they're just like, oh, it just used to be so nice before.
Yeah.
Even though you left your ex. Yeah. So it's like you always want a thing, but you don't.
Wait, this is avoidant, right?
Avoidant fearful. So there's two of them: avoidant fearful and an avoidant dismissive. I know people talk about disorganized, but to me, that's more. It more speaks to someone who also could struggle sometimes with being borderline. But if we talk about disorganized, people mix it together with avoidant fearful. I think it's more of a mixture of just avoidant and anxious. It's just all like, I'm all over the place.
Anxious avoidant.
Yeah. It's like
that's what they say on TikTok.
That is what they say on TikTok, because TikTok is, Bible. Is
Bible.
That is what they say.
TikTok is medical journal.
Absolutely. Forget this master's, girl. Like, forget it. Like, just that's what they say.
No, I'm glad to know the actual name now. And
yes.
Somebody actually did reach out to us because she was like, a lot of podcasts discussions of attachment styles don't really cover disorganized style.
They don't, because there's actually different theorists. So when I teach this, I do a webinar. When I teach it, everyone's like, what about disorganized? And it's a different theorist that talks about disorganized, and it feels a little bit messy to do it because disorganized is just clumping everything together. And a lot of times when people even get like diagnosed with being bipolar, OCD, and then complex PTSD, what it really is they haven't been diagnosed with being borderline yet. That's really what it is. And I don't want to say that, as people were like, hey, guess what you're, because you can't just diagnose people like that. But that's probably what it is, that their therapist has not sat down and done
and actually gone through more about them.
Yeah, because no one should be walking around with 6 diagnoses like that. Like, that's just kind of inappropriate. Like, hey, what? You don't need a bag like that, man. Like, you just have this one thing and have this one treatment. But it's probably that they have the one thing. So the avoidant fearful, if you want that intimacy, that's probably more so what you have. But the avoidant dismissive is more black and white, and that's more the one that people get pissed at, because this is the one that's a little bit more cool about it. They have the same background, but they really, really love their freedom, their independence. They're going to be more cold. They're more the one that people would identify as heartless, because they can do like a long distance relationship like no other. They're like, I'm good. They're the ones that people are yelling at, like, how come you can't text me more? Like, why don't you care? And it's not that they don't care, but they don't have the high desire that others have to always be talking about the stuff. Like they like seeing you, but they're not thinking about it as much as you are about, oh my God, what are you doing all day? Like, they enjoy you when they see you, but they enjoy themselves too. They enjoy what they're doing. They're fine. They have trust. It's an interesting thing. They trust that every relationship will end. So therefore, when it does end, they're not crushed about it.
They're validated.
They're like, okay, but not like in an evil way, like, I do it. So it's just like, okay. So what you don't want to do with this person, because people do like manipulative things, they'll be like, you know what? I told you better contact me or else. So you don't want to go to their house and say, I told you should have called me. Here goes the key to your house. What they're going to say is, thank you for the key to my house. And you're going to be pissed. Don't do that. Right? Like, don't do it thinking you're going to get some other response. Like, you're so evil. Like, no, they're like, oh, you gave me the key. I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Like, so they're so, both of those, like the avoidant types, they're so used to being shamed and what they feel like are character attacks. If you give them a character attack, they will not respond the way that you want them to. They're either going to shut down, they're going to be defensive, or they're just going to go inward. But they're not going to respond to you in a way that is healthy or conducive to what you're actually looking for, which is some sort of caring or connected way. They're not going to move towards you. They're going to move away.
Okay. So, so your ultimatum is just going to be more of the same that they've already been giving you. Yeah.
Correct.
So when you're figuring out what people's attachment styles are, or they're figuring them out for themselves, like, is the goal to make everybody have a secure attachment style, or is it to just acknowledge your attachment style and have tools to get through life with that?
It's ultimately for you to have the behaviors of a secure attachment style person if you want to have healthy relationships. Because I don't think that you can just turn off. So first of all, any attachment style that's not secure starts with trauma, right?
Right.
You can't like make your trauma memories go away, but we don't want to act out maladaptive behaviors for the rest of our lives if we can help it. So,
even disorganized though, if it's a mental illness?
Even a mental illness. Yeah, we can't just say like, oh, because I have a mental illness, I'm walking around slapping people all the time. Like, that's not okay.
Oh,
like,
no. I'm saying, like, even if, is it still trauma related if it's coming from like a genetic thing?
Yeah. Trauma, all our mental illnesses, if we can say nurture or nature, right? So yes, mental illness can be from either or. So attachment style, we would still put in the category of mental illness. You would still put it in there. It's still in a part of like the diagnostic. Yeah, it's still a part of that. So we still want to be able, it's not about fixing. It's about recognizing the symptom of the attachment style and just styling it differently, I guess, right? Like, yes, I have the trauma, but what happens with trauma is formed in order to keep you safe. So you had this style to survive the thing that happened, the person who was doing something to you at some point in your life. You needed the attachment style at some point in your life, but you're applying it in your relationships now. So your therapist is working with you to
other
let you know.
people who don't need that same
response. This isn't your mother. This isn't your father. This is, Stacy, right? And Stacy's not doing that anymore. She's not doing what your mother did, right? So therefore, you can respond differently. So it's teaching you you're safe, basically. You're safe. You don't have to look at her like this. You don't have to push her away. You don't have to over clench to her. Like, you can just be. And so it's teaching you that, so you can just respond differently. You can think about it differently. Now, the problem is you have a habit. And so your habit is there. It's built in. So you have to intentionally practice new habits.
Yeah.
If you don't do it on a ritualistic basis, your old habits are just going to be there. You can't make them go away. So you have to practice new habits. And if you don't, it's just, you're always just going to do the same stuff.
And it does make you feel better. Like, I'm not diagnosed with any type of attachment style, but I'm pretty sure it's the, what did you say?
I think you said you were avoidant fearful.
Avoidant fearful, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when things go wrong with me, I disconnect completely. Like, I am just like, I am stepping away. I can't even talk to you or whatever. But then I have to recognize how that feels when somebody does it to me. And I'm doing it because somebody has done it to me before. And I don't want to repeat that feeling of, okay, well, then this person just comes back whenever they're ready and everything's okay and swept under the rug. If I don't want to continue that, I have to actively, when I'm fighting with someone or, my boyfriend, I still talk to him. Hi, I'm not ready to talk right now, but because otherwise it's going to get worse.
Yes. And so that's the thing with, so you might want to read more about it. If you are avoidant dismissive, which I'm pretty much avoiding, I know what my attachment style is. You don't necessarily feel the whole like, oh my, it's not anxious. It's, you feel fine. And that's why people, again, do not like avoidant dismissive. Like, what's wrong?
Oh, I don't feel fine.
Oh, you don't feel, so then you're probably avoidant fearful. Okay. So what happens is you have to recognize, if you want to have a good relationship, you have to just know what to do to have it. That people don't like it when you ignore them. They just don't like it. So you're like, be nice, call somebody, please, like that kind of thing. And like you said, like, oh, I don't like when people do that to me, so maybe that kind of thing. So yes, it's a training yourself of that habit of being kind and empathizing, is what you pretty much did. Like, hey, I know what that felt like. That must be what that is for you. Oh, okay, got it. So, but it's hard because it's scary. That's what it is. Like, it's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to put yourself out there. You don't know what the results are going to be. But distancing ourselves feels very safe. Like, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen because I'm in control now. I don't have to worry about any of the results if I just go over here. I don't have to worry about what you're going to say. I don't have to worry about you telling me no. You telling me I'm not good enough for this, that, or the other, because I decided, right? And so for us as human beings, everything is about safety. It's like Maslow's pyramid, like the bottom of everything is safety, security. We need that. But it's a perception for us that we're not safe. Again, it's a trauma response that we're not safe when we are safe, because another person doesn't have to make us safe. We're safe. You're sitting inside of a space right now. There are not like daggers being thrown at you. A relationship, being connected to a person, is not going to make you safe or unsafe. Technically, you're fine. You're not imprisoned. You're not, like, your body is not in any type of harm because a person liked you or didn't like you, right? Like, you're safe. And so we have to remind ourselves. Unless they're an abusive
type of person.
Correct. And that is true. That is true. Yes.
There are ways to tell if they are that as well.
Yes.
Are there any attachment styles, like, I'm thinking from like an astrology standpoint, like that are like really good for each other? You know, like an anxious person and an avoidant person like might balance each other?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. Unfortunately. So there are books that I've read. I was like, that's so disappointing, where they're saying, if you're anxious and you know you're dating someone who's avoidant, just stop. Like, that's terrible. You're telling people not to date each other. Like, no, how about everyone just work on it? Like, figure out how you trigger each other and then do something different. But No, I mean, a secure attachment style could probably be with anybody, but they're going to annoy the secure person and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like, but no, there's none that match. Again, these are all triggered by trauma. So everyone's going to be triggered by something. So no, there's none that.
Yeah, I think even for a secure person, you're going to have to learn about your partner's attachment style if it's not secure. Like it's still going to be a journey because as much as I can avoid and my whatever is a certain way and he's so secure, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how can you still feel fine?
Exactly. Like, why are you not upset? What's wrong with you? Who sent you?
Who sent you here? So wait, can we just go through them one more time?
We have secure, we have anxious, we have avoidant fearful, and avoidant dismissive.
Okay. And then the disorganized one, which I just want to get back to this message from this person because I feel bad. She said, not a lot of people have this one. And if you do, just go to therapy is what people say. But this feels invalidating to those who have that style which is ironic because it comes from abuse. So it's adding to an already invalidating world. And B, a disorganized attachment style sometimes appears like one of the other insecure attachment styles. So it can be misleading for someone with a disorganized style who doesn't know. And then they don't have all the tools and information to understand themselves, especially if they don't remember or haven't come to terms with abuse in early development. So they might not immediately resonate with the brief description of the disorganized attachment.
So basically having the disorganized attachment style, I guess to make it simple, is a swing back and forth between anxious and avoidant. It's pretty much what it is, like having all of the reactivity where you might avoid and then you might cling and you might avoid. And again, as it's going to be likened to dealing with the emotions of a person who has borderline. And I'm not saying that this young lady has borderline personality, but just to make it more clear, the background of a person who has borderline personality disorder typically has, if we're looking at nurture, parents who did things like this. They said, hey, come here, give me a kiss. I love you, right? And so this is just an example, like an extreme example. Come give me a kiss. Say you walk up to your mom to give you a kiss, and then she punches you, and you fall on the ground. You're like, what just happened? And your mom's like, what are you doing on the floor? Come here, give me a kiss. What? And you get up to go give her a kiss, and then she pushes you. It's crazy making, right?
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what it is. Like, it's abuse, and you don't understand what's happening. And so it's a love, like hate, abuse, like I love you so much, I hate you so much kind of thing. That's what goes on in your mind. So and when you are in an abusive relationship, like as an adult, your abuser is typically they gaslight you. They're very manipulative. They make you not trust your own mind. And there is a cycle of abuse where there's a honeymoon stage. And then there's like this walking on eggshells. I worked for the state attorney's office for about 10 years in the domestic violence unit. So this is all I saw and did. And that's pretty much what happens with your mind. Tough. Yes. Yeah. So it's a back and forth. And but that's pretty much what happens with this attachment style. You don't know where you are or who you are. You normalize things that someone outside of that world would not normalize. Like everyone on the outside is like, what are you doing? But this person is very much like, it's not something you can really explain to other people. It doesn't make sense. But that's what that person's talking about.
Yeah. And I think, it must suck to be like, there's all these books that have tools for other attachment styles. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of saying everyone should go to therapy.
Absolutely.
Who's and not secure. And even the secure ones, if they're with someone else,
Of course. And it doesn't say that the other attachment styles, you shouldn't go to therapy. It says all of that. They all started from trauma. All of those attachment styles should be in therapy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. So I don't want this person to feel alone because everyone's been like, you need people need therapy because the therapist needs to see you as who you are and the things that you endured that brought you here, and so that they can so that they can treat you personally.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I want to switch to a little sexier conversation. Because we have talked about love languages. You talk about lust languages.
Yeah.
What are the lust languages?
So there are erotic blueprints. So Miss Jaya, she has these 5 blueprints. So they are, what is it? Sexual, energetic, I believe kinky, sensual, and there's one that's like pretty much a mix of all of them. So what they are is it's pretty much talking about how you become aroused, what your partner can do to turn you on. I love this because I teach a couple of classes on sex and perfectionism. And so when I'm helping my couples understand how they can turn each other on and why they're missing the mark, like, I don't know what I need to do because we haven't had sex or we haven't, we just haven't been able to connect. We don't have intimacy. And even before you get to sex, you have to build this intimacy. It's like way more before the bedroom. I have them do like a lot of sensual erotic touch massages, and just doing the massages in and of itself, like, well, how do you do a massage? You can do it in so many different ways. But what if I don't like that kind of stroke or touch? Doing this assessment is going to help you understand just how to touch your partner in this maybe 30, 45-minute, possibly 2-hour session. Maybe you like more pressure. Maybe you like a flogger. Maybe you like ice. Maybe you want to eat food. Maybe you want to smell a certain thing. Maybe you want to be blindfolded. Maybe you want some rope. Maybe you want some hot wax. Maybe I'm going to smack you if you put hot wax on me, like whatever. Right. So the point of this, maybe I want some dirty talk. Maybe if I know what it is that really gets you geared up, I know what I can do to get everything flowing way before we get to the bedroom, and then keep it flowing before, after, and during our sensual time.
And are you there for these sessions? Like, is it like a hands-on thing that you're like, okay, we're doing wax today? No,
that would be someone like I guess maybe a sex surrogate, because I'm a licensed therapist. It's a little bit different. Like, I can't necessarily touch my clients. So other people can touch their clients. I would lose my license, but I can give very thorough instructions. Like I have my yoni puppet and things like that. And I'm working on my penis puppet. I didn't realize there were penis puppets. And I was so obsessed. The other day, my client gets on the phone or on a session with me, and she's like, Joy, my husband's been he's been really good. And I realized I need to give him better head because it's been terrible. I was like, okay, then. So, all right, let's go. So I'm like looking around. I'm like, I don't have a phallus. Damn it.
Yeah.
Why is there no dick around here? Okay. You know what? I'm so sorry. So I'm like having to do like a fake thing and tell her what to do. It worked out. I'm like, this is great. I have to get a puppet. It's in the mail. It's in the mail. But I know, but I'm not there when they're actually doing it. I just have to I have to tell them what to do. Yeah.
But okay, so what are the 5 erotic blueprint types?
So it's shapeshifter, energetic, sensual, sexual, and kinky. Miss Jaya. And if you haven't taken it, you really should take it. I personally.
The quiz.
Yeah. Yep. And I always forget because I can't say kinky on the platform that I use when I'm teaching it. I'm not allowed to say the word kinky. I'm like, ugh.
Okay. You're like spicy.
Yes. You're like, you can say anything but the word kinky. I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So basically the shapeshifter encompasses all of them, right? So energetic, I love so much. The energetic person pretty much can be excited and can have an orgasm just by energy, right? Like you can be sitting across from somebody and just imagining the things that they can do, and just being in this space, turn yourself on, right? And your body responds to that. A kinky person is going to, of course, respond by the taboo things, like, having sex in the spaces that you're not supposed to have sex in, and using equipment you're not supposed to utilize. The person who is sexy is going to be turned on by, maybe like the things that you're wearing, adorning yourself and things like that, and sexy music and scents, and, taking a bath, and also being spoken to in a very sexy way. The person who is sensual is about more like, your senses. Like if you were to bring in a certain scent, things from nature, like candles. What's that thing on Netflix? Sex rooms, right? So they do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yes. So they'll utilize a lot of that. And then what was the
How
last
to build
one?
a sex room.
Was it sexy, sensual, energetic? Which one did I miss?
Verse. I'm just kidding.
I did sensual. I think I did. Oh, sexual. Did I do sexual?
Sensual.
Sensual, I did all the senses. Sexual, I did. Kinky, I did. Shapeshifter. Yeah, and shapeshifter is all of them pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, it's yeah. But I love energetic is just I just love it so much. Very emotional and yeah, this is exciting to me. I love it. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you take the quiz and you figure out who is what.
Yes.
And then where does it go from there?
So you can utilize, so it gets very in depth. So there's 2 quizzes. There's a free one, and then there's one, I think it's like $17. And so it kind of prints out this report for the 2 of you. You have 2 separate quizzes. It prints out a report for the couple, and it's telling you what kind of tools will turn your partner on, what kind of talk, right? Like what kind of spaces. So at this point, you have a map for your partner.
Yeah. Sex files.
Yes, like this is awesome, like stuff you never knew. So Miss Jaya, she tells her story, and I love it how for years she was feeling disconnected from her partner, and she just could not figure. Like she was doing all these things that she thought was so sexy. She's like, I don't get it. Like, why is he not turned on? Like everything was just kind of stale, and that's how she started to create these things, and like the fire pretty much started back up. And so once it's like a cheat code, right? Like once you figure this thing out, you're like, oh my gosh. And just knowing you have this thing, and anytime you want to, you can like press this button. I love that concept. To me, that's what sex or sensuality is about. I'm very much like, what's this button do? And that's how I see myself with my partners. I'm like, let's do this thing. Like, oh my God, I found this thing. My friend and I will just like kind of talk about our different stories with people. She's like, hey, do you know what this honey pack is? I'm like, girl, I don't. And I should, because I'm a sexologist. Give it to me. I'm going to try it.
Testing everything in the lab.
Yes,
you have to.
Absolutely.
And have you always been that way? Have you always been like sexually curious and like open to trying things?
In my mind, I was for I would say the vast majority of my life, I've been very restricted, right? Okay. And so for the other portion of my life that I've not been restricted, I've very much been like, I'm going to do all the things now, right? I was very much like, I can't do anything. And so now
it's like when your parents don't keep snacks in the house.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I only eat pizza bagels now.
Yes. So yes, very much so. And it's such a funny thing. Like with my daughter, especially, her dad would be very restrictive about those things. And I would tell him, I'm like, your daughter is going to be that woman in the house with cats eating nothing but like rows of Oreos. So please stop. Like, I don't want her to be that. So
me, she'll be me.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me now. I'm the let's touch all the buttons girl. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I think everyone should hit the buttons. It's, with consent. Like,
for sure. And speaking of buttons, do you remember the first time you hit the button successfully? Do you remember your first orgasm?
I do. I was downstairs on the love seat, and I was watching HBO. It was so funny because
downstairs from where you are right now?
No, I was 15.
Oh, okay. I was like,
wow. No. I'm 42. I was 15.
Okay.
Okay. No. I remember my mom was snoring on the couch. It was like really it was wild. So you guys remember, you may not remember, but like, because I don't know how old you are, but
33.
We used to get like okay, well maybe. I don't know if they even still do it now, because now I have
You're gonna say real sex?
It wasn't real sex, but it was HBO, but you would get like HBO and Cinemax and stuff for like free for like a little bit. I remember when cable was $9.99, right?
Yes.
So that's all we had, like that regular cable stuff, right? And so HBO would be free, like, holy cow. So I would have to wait for her to be asleep to even watch HBO. She was like, you can't watch that. Blah, blah, blah. All right. Yeah. So she was like asleep, snoring, and some sex scene was on. It probably wasn't even that sexy, but for me it was. Right? I was like, oh my God.
Because it's restricted.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like watching these people have some sort of sex, but I didn't finish downstairs. I remember I was on a love seat, but there was no way I was going to finish. But I remember I got started. I was like, whoa, what's happening? And then I go upstairs, and if he hears this, he's going to be like, what the hell? Mr. Keller Coffee, he was my social studies teacher. I went upstairs and I finished visualizing Mr. Keller Coffee and me in this scene. And oh my God, I'm like, what just happened?
Oh my God.
So
Shout out to
great.
Mr. Keller Coffee.
Yeah,
Teachers
man.
may only be involved if it is the fantasy of the child.
That is correct. He had nothing to do with it.
Not the other way around, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is correct. He would never. He would never.
No.
Absolutely.
He would never.
Oh my God, poor Mr. Coffee. He wasn't even attractive. Totally my type. Totally my type.
That's amazing.
Oh gosh. Yeah, it's great. It's great. So yeah, that was my first time.
Well, I love that it happened.
Yes, it did. It
Not
did.
downstairs in the place that you're
No.
in right now.
No. Not at all.
So
Yes.
you have given some great advice to people who maybe haven't achieved their own orgasms. And I'll just bullet what you sent us originally, which
Yes.
was knowing your erogenous zones, mental
Yes.
stimulation, feeling safe with your partner or yourself, I would add. If you're in a place that somebody's going to bust in, you're not going to feel so safe. So,
Yes.
Addressing trauma and the position that you're in, which we've talked about.
Yes.
Getting proper rest.
Oh yeah. Dr. Jess, she actually sent something out. I loved it because it's so true on Instagram the other day, talking about the percentage. Like if you have more sleep, you're 14% more likely to like have better orgasms and all of that. Like sleep is so important. Yes. Yes.
Cool.
Mhm.
And then check your hormones, which is like, I don't think a lot of us think to do that if we're in a dry spell or something like that. Always good to check in with a doctor. I did in my early episodes. I wasn't checking my hormones, but I was talking to doctors and having them inspect. Play.
Yes. Like just having fun with your partner, giggling with your partner, being friends with your partners. Your partner is just, it helps so much more with having orgasms and just the giggling. I don't know if anyone has had giggling orgasms, but it's a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just, I'm just saying.
It's so fun. And even allowing yourself to be silly with yourself. Like I've laughed during solo orgasms.
Yes.
Fun.
It is fun.
And then you said intentional practices like Tantra.
Oh, Tantra. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Urban Tantra, go to resource for me and for anybody I work with. That and in terms of attachment styles and for any of my poly people, mandatory read Polysecure, Urban Tantra. If you want to get right and be calm and be centered, like these are things everyone needs to just have. So
awesome. Oh my God. Well, this has been so much fun having you on. Thank you for pivoting the conversation when I wanted to talk about attachment styles.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. I'm definitely excited to be able to clarify for sure. And especially for the person who sent you the message to be able to clarify and not have them feeling alone about their mental health and just being free from any of that stigma around therapy. Because again, to clarify that everybody, of course I'm biased, but everybody should be in therapy because why not? My practice is very much strength-based anyway and very wellness-based. So when we're talking about like mental health, I'm very clear about saying like mental health opposed to like mental illness. Like it's just mental health, mental wellness. Yeah. Yeah. Like my clients who don't come because they're like, oh, I'm sick and I need to be better. They come and they keep coming back anyway, just because they want to just keep being better.
Nobody's like, ugh, I have to go to the doctor because of my physical health.
Correct.
Like I'm physically ill. Like it's like, no, I'm going to the doctor to get healthy.
Yes, that's it.
Where can everybody find you on the internet?
On the internet, so many places. So best places, let's start with Instagram. You can find me at That Joy Place or Glow Your Goddess. If you want to check out my webpage, you can go to joyberkheimer.com, or you can also go to thatjoyplace.com and find all of my goodies, blogs, new offerings, my books, podcasts, all the good stuff.
Dr. Joy, I have to ask this to everyone after a sexual experience, which this has been. Did you finish?
Oh, always.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And you guys, we'll see you next time on How Come. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come? How come? How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help. 'Cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna jizz.
I'm just loving these Marvel sections lately where like you're just still sticking around and I get to say more stuff. So this episode was recorded in May. It's now June. And we did have another Pride episode planned, but the person was having family issues. And so that episode hasn't even been recorded yet. But we're going to get them on. And also while I have you, that's why I'm still referencing Vanderpump Rules. Not that I'm over Scandival. I'm not. But the show's off the air for the season. I think we're all kind of like burnt out by it. But isn't that an interesting tidbit that there's breakup therapy? Like, first of all, how do you invite someone to breakup therapy without them being like, wait, are you just breaking up with me? Okay, we don't need to go. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like someone's gonna get blindsided, but maybe not. Maybe if both people are like, yeah, like we've been having a tough time, we're wondering, then that would be a good reason to go to breakup therapy. Very curious to see what you guys think about that one. Also, just DM us anything that you ever want to talk about with the podcast. If you're like, hey, go more in depth with that, DM us on Instagram at HowComePodcast. Rate, review, and subscribe. Somebody wrote the funniest fucking review. It was like, Remy, thank you for telling us about your gynae and butthole, because I guess I like said that on an episode. I was like, I told you about my gynae and butthole, so like at least leave me a review. And I laughed and laughed. And also, yes, thank you to that person. So if you haven't rated, reviewed, subscribed, please do that, because we've got more episodes coming at you, and probably in weird chunks like we did it this month with like just like so many at one time. Okay, I'm done now. Bye. Love you.